YouTube, you can do so at the following link. Let me grab that link. It's going to be over here. I'm supplying it to everybody in chat. All right. So everybody, let's start. Okay, so today is going to be the first session in our Python programming class. So this is HackerFrogs After School, Python Basics, Python Programming Basics. This is the intro presentation. So it's a cybersecurity program for learning beginner cybersecurity skills across a wide variety of subjects. This is the intro to Python programming. And first of all, let's talk a little bit about what programming is. According to Wikipedia, computer programming is the process of performing a particular computation, or generally accomplishing a specific computing result, usually by designing and building an executable computer program. Well, that's a big mouthful, but put in broader terms, programming is the process of writing instructions for a computer to execute. So that's what programming is. The instructions can result in output as simple as printing the answer to a simple math equation or a word to the screen, or as complex as the latest video editing software, games, websites, or countless other pieces of software used in our daily lives. So programming encompasses a lot of different things, and there are many different programming languages that are used for writing software, and each programming language has its own advantages and disadvantages for developing different types of software. So user TB asks, is it okay if I watch YouTube? Yeah, you can go ahead and watch the YouTube stream. That's fine. So the programming language we're going to learn to use in these workshops is called Python. So I'm not too sure if you all have heard of Python before. If you've heard of Python before, please type Python in the chat to let me know if you've heard of this programming language called Python before. All right, I see a few people are responding yes, they have heard of Python before. That's great. So why are we learning Python? There are a lot of programming languages out there. And so why are we learning Python? So we're going to go over 3 reasons why we're learning Python over some other programming languages. So number 1, Python is a very popular programming language with a very active online community. So there's a lot of support for students. So basically, if you have a question about how to do something in Python, it's much more likely that you're going to be able to find an answer because Python is a super popular language. User H says it's a very big snake. Well, yeah, I guess another type of Python is a very big snake. That's correct. All right, the second reason is number 2, Python uses a syntax that is much closer to written English than other programming language, so it's easier to read and understand. So you might think that that the symbols and the way that programming language code looks is kind of foreign and a bit hard to read, but trust me when I say that other programming languages look way more complicated than this. And number 3, Python automates some tedious operations common to other programming languages, such as memory management. So there's some other programming languages where you have to decide where all of the computer memory goes and what we're going to assign to different computer memory. It's all kind of a big pain if you were just learning programming for the first time. So that's why we're learning about Python. So in the next Python programming workshop, which means the next thing we're going to be doing right now, we're going to start learning Python with this website right here, learnpython.org. So let's move over. So the first thing we're going to learn is the Hello World program. So programmers learning a language usually write a Hello World program as their first exercise. So to complete our Hello World exercise, we're going to go over a couple of things about Python first. We're going to talk about the print function first. So what is this function? So in programming, when we talk about a function, we're just talking about a little program that does something for us. So virtually all programming languages have some method of printing text to the screen, often referred to as the console. In Python, the print function is the primary method of doing so. So we've got this instruction over here, print and it's going to print whatever we put in the parentheses over here. And there's a sentence here. This is how you print text in Python. And when you execute this, this instruction right here, this is what you get, some text that's printed out by Python. So everybody, I would like to get everybody with their hands on the keyboards and testing stuff out. So let's go over to this right over here. This is the a very familiar thing. If you've done our previous workshops, this is the JS Linux machine. So go ahead and go over to this particular link. So just like in the other sessions, when you're ready to go, you'll see that we have this prompt right here, root at localhost. All right, so everybody, when you can see the screen, please type JS Linux up. Okay, that's great. So the next thing we need to do is we're going to start our Python console. So we can have a Python console where whatever we type into the console is going to be interpreted as Python commands. And the way we can start up this console is by just typing in the word Python and pressing enter. User KT says, please repeat what this is called. This is called the Python. This is called, so this machine that we're using right now, this website, is called JS Linux. And what we're doing now, after we type in the Python command and press enter, is we're going to enter the Python interactive console. So from here, we can start typing in Python commands, and when we press enter, then they're going to be executed as Python commands. So the first thing we are going to learn is how to use the print function. So it's just going to be print and then these parentheses here. And whatever we put inside of some quotes, so we can put some double quotes here, or we can put some single quotes here. And whatever we put between these quotes, whatever we put between these quotes is going to be printed. Okay, so if we were to run this, then this is going to print out. Whatever we put between these quotes is going to be printed. So everybody, what I want you to do is I want you to try using the print function over here. So it's just going to be print and then put some double quotes in there and then type some stuff between the double quotes or the single quotes and something, and then press enter, and then it should print out. So if you're able to successfully print out something after using the print function, please give us a smiley in the chat. Okay, so one thing I'm going to show you about using the difference between using double quotes and single quotes when you use the print function is that sometimes we want to use double quotes or single quotes inside of our sentences. For example, what's this? So this is not going to work if we use single quotes. So if I put everything between single quotes in this case, then Python is going to interpret this as the end of this string. So it's going to show an error. So it says invalid syntax. So just like in the in Linux, user F says, are we using picoctf today? Yeah, we're going to do one picoctf exercise at the end of the class. So make sure that you have your username and password. Okay, so because we use single quotes for all of this over here, then there's going to be a syntax error when we try to run it. But if we put this between double quotes, then we can print it. Likewise, if we want to put something in double quotes in our print statement over here, we could do the single quotes, and then this is what is called Python. And this is going to work because we've got the double quotes on the outside, and we've got the single quotes on the outside and the double quotes on the inside. And that's why we have both double quotes or single quotes when we want to print out. Okay, so everybody, let's learn about the Hello World program. And we're going to learn it at, where are we? So we're going to learn about it on this page right here. I'm going to provide it in the chat for everybody to navigate to. Okay, so this website right here is called learnpython.org. It's a little website where we can learn about Python. And the great thing about this website is that they have these little interactive Python windows that we can work inside. So everybody, if you manage to get to this web page right here, and you see the first window right here that says script.py, please type in the chat, learn Python. So sometimes when you're navigating this website, you're going to see like a pop-up ad appear, and if you see a pop-up ad appear, all you need to do is you just need to find the X on the pop-up ad and click on the X to close it. User KT says, please repeat. Please repeat. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to navigate to the Learn Python website, which I am providing in the chat for everybody. So once you go to this web page, we're going to learn about the Hello World program. So Hello World is a very old programming concept. It's basically learning how to print something to the console. So we basically know how to run this kind of program. And let's take a look at the examples over here. So in the first window here, there's a script.py file over here, and then there's a IPython shell. If your screen is too small, you're going to see the IPython shell and the script.py in different tabs. So let me demonstrate what this looks like. So if your window is really small, you're going to see the IPython shell in one tab and the script.py in another tab. So just in case you don't see it, this is what you need to do. But I'm going to make my window nice and big. Okay. All right. So what we need to understand is that when we click on the Run button, it's going to run whatever code is inside the script.py window over here. So when we click on Run, then over on the IPython shell, it says this line will be printed. We see that this is exactly what we typed into the print statement here. So print, and then inside the parentheses, and then inside the quotes, this will be printed. Great. Okay. So next, they start talking about indentation. We don't need to worry about this. We'll talk about this particular concept a little bit later. And then we come on the exercise. So the exercise for this particular web page is to use the print function to print the line "Hello World." Okay? So what you need to do is you need to go down to the bottom here, and then you need to edit this sentence over here so that it says "Hello World." So what you could do is you could highlight this, copy and paste over here, and do it that way. But I'll let you do it however you like. What I want you to do is I want you to edit the code over here to say "Hello World" and then click on Submit. And if you're right, then it'll say "Good job" or something like that. So everybody, please tell me when you've finished doing this exercise. When you click on Submit, it says "Good job," because you did the Hello World program. So in chat, at that point, you can type "Hello World." Okay, so we're getting some people in chat saying that they've successfully completed the Hello World exercise. I'll wait a little longer, and then I'll show everybody how it's done. All right. So over here, all you need to do is you need to modify. So modify what's inside of here so that it says hello world. This is exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for this, this comma and hello world are both capitalized. And then there's an exclamation point over here. All right, so one way you could do it is you could highlight this string right here, hello world, and then right click, copy, and then go over and highlight the code in here, goodbye world. We want hello world, so we need to right click and then paste it in, hello world, click on submit, and it says the output is hello world, and the green banner over here says great job. All right, so everybody, let's move on. So we've got a little quiz set up over here. Okay, before we do that, let's learn. So user AD asks, how do you redo it? How do we redo it? Okay, so let's address that. So over here, if you want to redo the exercise, all you need to do is reload the web page. So in most web browsers, there's a little button over here called reload. You can also use the F5 keyboard shortcut. So if you want to redo the exercise, you would reload the page, and then everything would go back to where it was when you first loaded the page, and then you could redo it. So for example, goodbye world, just highlight this, or you could just delete it and type hello, click on submit, and then you're done. Okay, so one more thing we need to know about the print function is another common use of the print function is to print the values of variables to the console. In this case, we simply input the name of the variable we want printed between the parentheses. So on our first line of code, we have here the name variable. So the variable is equal to this sentence right here. A variable could be a lot of different things, and then we print the variable. So when we print variables, we don't need to put the single or double quotes. We just put the name of the variable, and when we print that, it's going to say a variable could be a lot of different things. All right, so let's do a little. Okay, so another thing that we have to be aware of is that the syntax for the print function requires parentheses to work correctly. If omitted, Python will display an error message when run. So we can't do this. We can't do print hello world without the parentheses. Okay, so user AD says that you're not getting the right input from the web page. All right, so let's go back to the page. I'm going to reload it. So in the exercise over here, all you need to do is go over to this part, goodbye, and then delete it, and then type hello with a capital H, and then it's going to say hello world, click on submit, and then it should say great job. So if you're still having a problem, I will copy and paste this over to the chat. But the problem is that we can't copy paste from chat, but you can use this one as a reference. Okay. Okay, let's go back to the presentation over here. So basically, if we don't have the parentheses, we can't use the print function. So if we go over to our JS Linux right here and we try to print hello world, then it's going to give us an error. So missing parentheses in call to print, did you mean print hello world? So a good thing about Python is that when there are errors, it'll usually tell you the nature of the error when it gives you the error, so that you can usually try to fix it. Okay, so I don't know if I can I clear the Python? No, we can't do that. Okay, so I guess we're going to have to work at the bottom of the screen. That's okay. All right, so also when we print text, we have to use either single quotes or double quotes to wrap what we want to print. So we can use either. If we use single quotes, if we use double quotes, it's still going to print out. So we already learned with python.org So everybody, what I want you to do in the chat is I want you to answer the question. So this is the first question. When we use the print function to print text, should we use single quotes or double quotes? So type your answer in the chat, A, B, or C, or D. Okay, I see some answers coming in. I'll wait for a couple more answers and then we'll look over what the answer is. Okay, so when we were just talking about this, and when we want to print text using Python using the print function, we should use either single or double quotes. So if you use single quotes, it's fine. If you use double quotes, it's fine. But we just need to make sure that we're not mixing them up. We can't use one single quote and one double quote. We have to keep it consistent. All right, question number 2. What happens if you use the print function without parentheses? A, B, C, or D? So A, the print function will still work. B, an error message appears at runtime. C, parentheses only affect whether or not there are parentheses in the output. Or D, none of the above. Okay, so the answer here is, whoops. The answer here is B, an error message appears at runtime. So if you use the print function without parentheses, then you're going to get an error message. All right, so let's move on to the next section. And the next section is part 2, variables. So when we're talking about programming, or if we're talking about computer stuff in general, we're going to hear this word a lot. So the word is variables, and virtually all programming languages use variables, which are storage locations associated with a specific name, as well as a value. Take the following as an example. In this case, there's a variable here called my name, my_name equals shyhat. So that's my name that I use when I'm online. So so whenever we refer to my name in the code, shyhat will be inserted there. So if we have the following code, my name equals shyhat, and then print my name, the output should be shyhat. So let's try this. Let's try this out in the console. Okay. So over at the JS Linux, what we need to do is we need to create a variable. So the variable is going to be my_name, and it's going to be equal to, and then we need to use the double quotes or the single quotes. Either one is fine. And then I want you to type whatever name you like. So let's just say that my name equals the shyhat, and then I will press enter. And then the Python is going to save that. So my name, this variable, has been saved to this value right here, the shyhat. So if I do print, and then in the parentheses we put my name, my_name, then the shyhat is going to be printed out. Okay, so I want you to try this out. I want you to create the variable my name, and it's going to be equal to whatever name you like. Just make sure that you have some single quotes or double quotes wrapping the name, okay? And then press enter, and then I want you to try printing out the variable. So print, and then inside the parentheses, my_name, and your name should print out. So if you're able to successfully do this, please type in chat, I printed my name. Okay, user R says, no, I need help. Okay, so let's suppose that so everybody, I'm going to show you how to exit from the Python from the Python interpreter. It's just exit and with these parentheses over here. So exit with these two parentheses. That's going to let you exit from the Python program. So let's suppose that you're on this web page right here, and to the person who needs help, I will give you the website that we're using. Okay, so after you've loaded up the website over here, you want to type Python to start up the Python interpreter. So after you get to root at localhost and you see the blinking cursor, type Python, press enter, and then we're going to repeat what we did before. We're going to make a my_name variable, and we're going to call this, maybe we're John Smith. Okay, so we're going to make a my_name variable here, just like this, and then press enter. And then we're going to print my_name. So we just need to make sure that we have our parentheses here, and we put the variable name inside the parentheses. And we should see that our name gets printed out. Okay, so somebody said that they didn't get the link. I'll supply the link to everybody. So everybody is going to get the link. Okay, so to user R, if you're still having problems in a little bit, please let me know. So basically, what you need to do is you need to load up this this web page, and inside the web page, after it's loaded up, you want to start up the Python program by just typing Python and hitting enter. And then after you're in, you create the variable my_name, and then it's going to be equal to whatever you want inside of single quotes or double quotes, and then print, and inside the parentheses it's going to be my_name, and that should print out your name. Okay, so let's go over to the presentation. We're talking about variables. So the real benefit to using variables in programming is that variables can be referenced multiple times in the same code, which saves a lot of time and accounting while writing code. In addition, variables can change value after they've been defined. So you can change the value of a variable after you've assigned it. So here, my name equals John Smith. If I print my name, I could do this over and over again. Print John Smith. And inside of the Python console over here, you can do up and down, just like in the Bash terminal, to get your previous commands. So maybe my name is not John Smith anymore. My name is now Jane Doe. So my name equals Jane Doe. So basically, my name used to be John Smith, but now I've changed it. And now when I print my name, it's no longer going to be John Smith. It's now Jane Doe. All right. So for example, say we have an online store program where we sell televisions. So we're going to write a little program where we sell televisions. The program has two variables. We've got the TV price variable, which is the price of a television, and current total, which keeps track of the current price in the user's shopping cart. So we've got TV price. User R asks if we can go back. Which part do you want me to go back to? So if you could tell me where you got lost, I can help identify your problem. Okay, and we've got the current total variable, which keeps track of the total price of a user shopping cart. So the two variables are set to 199.99 and 0, respectively. However, if a TV is purchased, then the total price variable is going to increase by a value equal to the TV price variable. Okay, user A asks, could you go back to the my name part? All right, so let's demonstrate one more time. So over here, we set a variable, my name, and then we set the variable to this string right here called John Smith. So basically in Python, a string is a bunch of letters or numbers or characters. A string is anything between these double quotes or between the single quotes. So we set this variable to the string, John Smith, and then we printed my name, which prints out the value of my name, which is John Smith. But then we changed the value of my name from John Smith over to Jane Doe. And then when we printed the my name variable, we got Jane Doe. Okay, so if there's anything you don't understand about what's happening here, please let us know, and we'll try to explain. I will try to explain it. Okay, but back at the presentation, we've got this code we have right here. We've got TV price. We're setting this to a number. So when we're setting variables using numbers, we don't need to wrap them in quotes. We don't need double quotes or single quotes. We just supply the number. And then we've got a current price variable, and we're going to set this to 0. And then we're going to change the value of current total, and that's going to be equal to the current total plus the TV price. So user R said, mine said error. Okay, user A said name error, my name is not defined. Okay, so to user R and user A, it might be because you didn't set the variable first. So in JS Linux, what you need to do is you need to do my underscore name equals, and then some double quotes, and then whatever name you want. You could make it Godzilla. This could be it has to be inside of the double quotes or single quotes, and then press enter. And that's going to save the variable name. So the variable is now set to Godzilla. My name is set to Godzilla, so when you print the name, then Godzilla is going to appear. All right, so let's try writing this program inside of JS Linux, okay? So everybody, let's try this out. We're going to, so TV price is going to be 199.99. So let's do this. TV underscore price equals 199.99. So in this case, we're setting a variable, but we're not going to set it to a string. This time it's going to be a number. So the number doesn't have to be wrapped up in quotes. And then we set this. And then we're going to set a variable called current total. And it's going to be 0. Okay, so user KT asks, is it okay if you watch YouTube? Yeah, you can go ahead and watch the YouTube stream if you like. Anybody else, you could go ahead and watch the YouTube stream. I will provide the link to that. Okay, so TV price equals 199.99, and then we set that, and then we're going to set current total. This variable is going to be set to 0. Okay, so user LC says, okay, yeah, no problem. If you're arriving late, that's fine. I think we might be doing a different schedule. We might be doing starting the class a little bit later in the future, but I'll have to talk to some other people before that. All right, so we've got TV price, we set that, and then current underscore total, we're going to set that to 0. One thing we have to keep in mind about variable names is that we can't use spaces in the variable names because Python doesn't like that. Okay, so we're going to set current. So we're going to print these things. So if, for example, we print TV price, it's going to be 199.99, and then current total is set to 0. If we set the current total equal to current total plus TV price, then kind of like a calculator, the current total is going to be increased by the TV price, which is 199.99. Okay, So if we were to do this, and then we printed current total, then it's going to be set to $199.99. Okay? So everybody, why don't you try this out? So set TV price, and then set current total, and then add to current total. It's going to be equal to current total plus TV price, and then print current total. And if you get 199.99 after you print current total after doing these instructions right here, please type in the chat, I bought a TV. Okay, so to user LC, if you manage to, please, what you want to do is you want to load up this, whoops, not this, hold on. So to user LC, you want to go over to this web page right here, and we're practicing using using Python on this Linux box right here. And what you need to do is you need to start up the Python program by just typing Python and hitting enter. Okay, user R says, can you help me when we're finished? All right. To anybody who needs help, or to people who arrived late, I can help you out after the session is done. We'll be ending the session at the top of the hour. So it's currently 37 minutes past the hour, and we'll be ending the session at the end of this hour. Okay. All right. So let's go back. So we're talking about variables. So there are a couple of rules that we need to keep in mind when we're naming variables. So we can name variables basically anything, but there are a couple of rules that we have to follow. So we've got this variable right here. It's just called A, and we set it to this sentence right here. We are HackerFrogs, and then we have another method of naming this variable, HF. So that stands for HackerFrogs slogan. We are HackerFrogs. So the first thing we need to know about naming variables is variables should be as short as possible while still describing its value. So if we use the letter A as a variable name, it's very easy to type. That's a good thing. The bad thing is that we don't know what this variable name describes. So we have to find variable names that that describe the thing that they're tracking, what they're storing. Yeah. Okay. So letters like A and X are sometimes okay variable names, but most of the time variable names should be descriptive. Okay, user NC. Yeah, no problem, no problem. You all bought some TVs. That's great. Okay. So the second thing we need to know about naming variables is that sometimes there are some variable names that we think might be okay, but they share keywords with the Python program, and this makes this bad for using as variable names. So there's a list of keywords used in Python which cannot be used as variable names. Otherwise, your program won't run. So for example, if maybe we're talking about classes in high school, so we've got economics, or we've got history, or we've got math. If we try to name something class, this isn't going to work because class is a keyword inside of Python. So if we go over here and we do class equals math, okay, then it's going to give us a syntax error. It says invalid syntax because class is already a keyword inside of Python, so we can't use it as a variable name. But what we can do is we could do my class instead. So my class equals, let's just say history, and then print my class, and then we can record this variable this way. All right. So we also can't use the word true. So we can't use the word true or false as variable names either. Who here likes pineapple pizza? So if you like pineapple on your pizza, please type in the chat pineapple pineapple for me. If you don't like it, please type pineapple not for me. Okay, we've got some pineapple enjoyers in here, and some people who also do not enjoy pineapple. That's fine. Okay. All right. So here are some very common keywords inside of Python that we can't use for variable names. All right. So and, assert, break, class, continue, else, except, false, finally, stuff like this. There are some other keywords as well, but you have to keep in mind that that there are some words that we can't use for variable names. Okay, to get around this restriction, we can prepend any name which we suspect could be a keyword with my underscore. So we could do my underscore class or my underscore true, and this is going to be okay for naming our variables. Okay, another thing that we're going to learn about in today's session is about data types. So data types are attributes of data which tells the compiler or interpreter how to use the data. So whenever we run some Python code, it's going to go through what is called the interpreter, and the interpreter is going to try to interpret what instructions we want to run using Python. So we're going to use 3 different types of data in today's workshop. So we've got strings. So basically strings are non-numerical characters or a combination of numerical and non-numerical characters. So for example, we've got this string right here. It's called, this is Mark Twain. We've got somebody's password as a string, and we've got the word carrot as a string. So basically inside of Python, anything between some quotes, so if it's between some double quotes or between some single quotes, it's considered a string by Python. So we also have what are called integers. So strings inside of Python are also called str, and we've got integers, which in Python is referred to as int. These are whole numbers, so numbers without the decimal point. We've got 1 or 255 or 1337. So these are whole numbers. And then we've got floating point numbers, and these are called floats. So these are numbers that are accurate to several decimal places. So you've got 0.5 or 12.758 or whatever. So any number with a decimal point is considered a floating point number or a float. So we've got a certain. So let's go back to the Python console. So we've got a different function, and this one is called type. And when we run this function, it basically tells us, it identifies what kind of data something that we pass to it is. So for example, if I pass the shy hat inside of some quotes, what do you think is the type of data that is represented here as? If you know, type in the chat. So is this a string or an integer or a floating point number? Okay, so between string, integer, and floating point number, this one is a string. So the data type is string because we've got the double quotes over here. So if we do the same thing, we do type, but we use single quotes, and we put between the single quotes the number 1. What type of data do you think is going to return here? Is this going to be an integer, which is a whole number, a string, which is a piece of text, or a floating point number? So this is an interesting case. Remember that we put the number between the single quotes here. Is this an integer or a string? Okay, so I see some people saying that this is an integer. Some people say that it's a string. Okay, so the answer here is, because we put the number between the single quotes, this is going to register as a string. So even if this is a number, because we put it between some quotes, it becomes a string. So, for example, if we do 1 by itself, without the single quotes, then it's going to say that this is an integer, an int. All right, so one more. This number right here, is this going to register as a string, an integer, or a float? So an integer is a whole number, and a float is a number with decimal places. Okay, so I think, all right, so some people say float, some people say integer. So the answer is, so this is going to be a float because this is a number with decimal places. So this function right here, the type function, a function is basically, you can identify a function in Python is that anytime you type the name of a function and then put these parentheses over here, you can identify that as a function. So in this case, let's try this. So this is going to be 3.14. Okay, so we've got type 3.14, but it's between these double quotes. So the question here is this going to register as a float, or is it going to register as a string? Okay, user P asks for help. So user P, if you could identify, if you could tell me exactly what you need help with, then I could help you. Okay. All right. So the people who said that this was a string, that is correct. This is a string because it's between these quotes right here, and anything. So for Python, anything in between these quotes is going to be counted as a string. Okay. Let's go back to the presentation. So there's strings, integers, and floats. Strings are anything between the single or double quotes. Even if it's a number, it's going to count as a string because it's between the quotes. An integer is a number without a decimal point, and a floating point number is a number with a decimal point. Okay. User P says I can't type. You can't type inside of the Python there. All right. So just like in so if for some reason you get stuck inside of the JS Linux machine right here, all you need to do is reload the page. So click on reload this page. If you can't find the reload button, you can use the F5 keyboard shortcut. So if I just if I'm inside my browser and I hit the F5 button, that's going to reload the page. And after it finishes booting up, then you can just type Python and hit enter. And then you'll be back to where we are, okay? Okay, let's go back. So data types. So the reason why data types are important is because computers do not inherently know how to interpret data. So for example, we have a program which calculates the average of school grades, which means that it adds all the grades together and then divides the sum by the number of the assignments. The program isn't going to work if it was given words instead of numbers for the grades. So for example, if you get like a 97% on a test, it's not going to work if you type out the word 97. So if you do, so test grade equals 97, it's expecting like an integer. But if you do test grade equals 97, it's not going to be, maybe the program's not going to be able to interpret this. And then it's going to give you an error, and then it's going to ask you to supply an integer instead. So because there are data types, we can have the program check that all the grades are numbers, and if there's a non-number in the input, we can inform the user that the program only accepts numbers for input and prompt the user to input another value. Okay, so we just talked about using the type function to identify what data types we have. So in the first case, we have a string. In the second case, we have an integer. And in the third case, we have a float. So the results say class string, class int, and class float, respectively. All right, so there's one more important thing that we're going to learn in today's lesson, and that's the input function. And that's when we use the input function, users type it in. So for example, we've got our favorite fruit variable. It's going to be equal to input, and the input message is going to be, what is your favorite fruit? And then we want to print, your favorite fruit is favorite fruit. So basically, we can use the input function to ask users to put in some input. So to illustrate this, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our picoctf, okay? So over at picoctf, what I want you to do is I want you to open up your web shell. So everybody, we're going to click on our web shell after we start up our picoctf. And what I want you to do is I want you to put this in its own browser tab. So you can click on this button right here. And we need to put in our picoctf username. That's fine. I'm the Shy Hat. And let me grab my password. Okay, so I need to get my password. Just a second. This is for picoctf. Okay, and then enter your picoctf password. I'm going to paste it in. And now we're at picoctf in our web shell. All right, so everybody, please log into your web shell over at picoctf. And when you're ready to go, please type web shell ready in the chat. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to clear this off. And then I'm going to use the nano text editor to create a Python file. All right. So first of all, let's make a directory called Python, and then let's go inside the Python directory. So inside the Python directory here, we're going to create a file called input test. Input test. Okay, so everybody, let's use nano. So nano space input test, and then press enter. And now we're inside the nano text editor inside of our Python web shell. Okay. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do fav_fruit. So favFruit equals input, and then inside of the parentheses here, we're going to do what's your favorite fruit. Okay. So everybody, we need to use the double quotes here because we have a single quote inside of the sentence. All right. So what's your favorite fruit? And then that's the end of that line. And then print. And then we're going to put some double quotes here. Your favorite fruit is. And then we're going to do plus. So over here, we're going to make sure that the double quotes they end over here. Your favorite fruit is. And we're going to put a space right here. And then we're going to put plus fav_fruit. Okay, so it's just these two lines, favorite fruit equals input, and then parentheses, what's your favorite fruit? Okay, we need to use the double quotes here. You know what, we actually don't need to use the double quotes. We just need to do what is your favorite fruit, just like this. Okay, and that's the first line. And the second line is print, your favorite fruit is, and then plus favFruit, just like that. Okay, so after you're done typing out this this code right here, we're going to exit. So to exit, you do Control X. So Control X on your keyboard is going to ask you to save modified buffer, type Y, and then file name to write. Just hit the Enter key. Okay. So we've got input test over here. We're going to type Python and then input test. So Python input test, when you hit enter, it should ask you what is your favorite fruit. You're going to type in your favorite fruit. I'm going to say papaya. And then it's going to print out your favorite fruit is papaya. All right. So everybody, if you did that successfully, please type in the chat fruit salad. But if you got an error message, what we need to do is we need to inspect the code over here. So Anna, so sorry, user A says, how do you click yes to save the modified buffer? Okay, so that's the so you want to use the Control X keyboard shortcut. So it's hold down the Control button and then hit the X button on the keyboard, and then it's going to ask you if you want to save the modified buffer. Type Y to save it, and then hit enter. All right. So is there anybody who wasn't able to type out your favorite fruit? Let us know in the chat. So if for some reason you weren't able to print out the message, please inspect your code and make sure that all of the syntax is correct. Okay, user NC said I wasn't. It said command not found. Command not found. That sounds unusual. So it's going to be Python and then input test. What is your favorite fruit? Apples. Your favorite fruit is apples. Great. User LC says I missed a command. Okay. So to the people who weren't able to do this final exercise over here, let's cover that after the session is over, okay? All right. So everybody, let's do one exercise from PicoCTF to finish off today's session, all right? So today's PicoCTF exercise is going to be, and let me grab. So we've got a thread for every session that we do for HackerFrogs. So on our Reddit over here, and we've got one for today as well. So today is August 9th. I'm going to provide this chat. I'm going to provide this in the chat. And today we're going to be solving the runme.py challenge, okay? So, whoops, let me grab the link for the challenge and I will paste it for everybody in chat. Okay, so so this is a very simple challenge. What we need to do is we need to run the runme.py script to get the flag. We need to download the script with your browser or use the wget command in the web shell. All right. So user in the YouTube chat, somebody says, hey to you. Okay. All right. So first we need to create an environment for this challenge inside the web shell. First, we're going to cd to our home directory. And then we're going to create the directory using mkdir. We're going to call this runme.py. And then we're going to enter the directory. Okay, and then we're going to download the file using wget. So it's going to be wget, and then go over to the challenge page. This link right here, right-click it, copy the link address, and then go over to the web shell, right-click again, and then select paste. So wget this file right here, runme.py. All right. So when we run the command, that downloads the file. When we do ls, we see that the runme.py file is in here. Somebody in the YouTube chat asked if I can hack their college website. I can't hack your college website because that's probably against the law, and we don't break the law over here. But thank you very much for asking. If you have any other questions about cybersecurity, please feel free to ask. All right, so we've got this runme.py file over here. All we need to do to run this file is to just use the Python command. So it's going to be python runme.py. Okay, so we run the command and then we get the flag. So before we finish this exercise, let's take a look at what's actually in this file right here. So the runme.py Python script actually has some code in there, right? So if we use cat to read the file, so we see that inside we've got this code right here, okay? Okay, user H says you're going too fast. That's okay. If I'm going too fast, I'll help you out after the session is over, and I'll go a little bit slower then. But it's just that we're running a bit behind schedule, so I just want to finish this challenge, and then the people who don't need help can leave. All right. So first of all, we create a flag variable, and the flag variable is equal to this string right here. And the next command is just going to print the flag. So print and then the variable name flag. And when we run the script, it prints out the flag. All right. So if there's anything you don't understand about how we solve this challenge, please type in the chat and we'll try to help you. But otherwise, let's finish this challenge. All you need to do is highlight the flag. Well, just highlight. Andrei Happychenko subscribed on YouTube. Thank you very much for subscribing. So just highlight the flag and then right click and then click on copy. And then we're going to go over to the challenge page. And we're going to click on the flag submission field down here and then paste in the flag, click on submit flag, and then we're done. All right, so everybody, if you managed to solve that challenge, please type in the chat, run my Python. Okay, so user IJ says, okay. So user IJ, I think we might be changing up the schedule starting next week. But yeah, I see that the class starts a bit early for some people. So actually, you know what? I'm going to poll everybody in the chat. Would you be okay with starting these sessions an hour later than when we currently start them? If you're okay with starting them later by an hour, type okay 1 hour. And if you're not okay with starting it an hour later, please type not okay 1 hour. Okay, I see some answers coming in chat. Okay. Okay, so I see that some users are okay with starting an hour later, and some users are not okay with starting an hour later. All right, I'm going to have to talk with the organizers about this, but we're gonna keep it with the current schedule right now, but we might be changing up the schedule going forward depending on if the organizers are okay with that. All right, but thank you very much to user IJ for identifying that problem that you're having. Okay. All right, so before we finish this today's session, we're just going to talk about what we learned in today's session. Okay, so Okay, so what we did was that we wrote the hello program, a hello world program in Python, which is the first program students write for any computer language. And we learned about the print function, which prints information to the console and is common to almost all programs written in Python. We also learned about variables, which are named storage locations, which hold specific values, which can be referenced multiple times in a program. And we learned about data types. So we learned about strings, non-numeric text, integers, whole numbers, and floats, which are numbers which include the decimal places. Okay, so in the next workshop, we're going to be continuing to learn Python with the learnpython.org website and by using stuff like JS Linux and picoctf. Okay, so all right, so we're going to end the session here. I'm going to end the live stream.